call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order, and today is November 9th. And our first item on the agenda is the approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes that were held October 19th. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
I got Liz. Can
Second.
I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, that's Jane. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the approval of the meeting minutes of the Committee of the Whole on October 19th, 2020, please say aye.
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 Oppose? It looks like the motion has carried. The second, I will pass this on to both Dr. Grenier, wherever he is on my, okay, there you are, and to Susan. In terms of the overview of the hybrid full distance learning program and the survey results. Susan, was that to be yours?
Yes, I can start us out, and then if Mike wants to add to it, he can, certainly, you know. So I had shared the survey results from the educators and also from the teachers, and we got so much wonderful information. And I just want you to know, and the public to know, what we do with the information. It's just not reviewed with the board or even with the faculty, that we really try to disaggregate it and look for trends. We look for trends at the school level. We look for trends at the district level. And the principals will be looking at it closely with their data teams and coming up with some action steps. So what are those strengths we're seeing? What are some of the challenges we're seeing? What are some next steps to really make it more doable for families and for staff? Mike and I have always said we really wanted the hybrid model to be sustainable. So if and when we go into full remote, we are able to do it very smoothly, and we're able to make sure kids are engaged and stay connected. Our big concern, and I'll talk about this even later tonight, is those children who we report on weekly who are fully remote and disconnected. And it does fluctuate with when our schools go out to full remote. So the more schools that are out, the more kids that are doing full remote, it seems to go along with that for the more kids that are disconnected. So we really want to make this a viable program, and we want kids engaged, and we have some strategies already, but I look forward to working with the principals to see what those next action steps are. And we certainly will share it with the Board of Ed and even put it on the website for parents and staff to see. Mike, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna, if I could get my screen back, I'd be very happy. There we are. I was just gonna point out that unfortunately, 50% of our schools right now are on remote learning because of, actually at the very beginning of this meeting, we talked about a couple of family members. That is certainly how the infection is spreading in our community, for sure. So when we have someone who tests positive, almost invariably they say, my mother, my father, my brother, whatever. People are bringing it from home, but you know, we have these folks now who are on full distance for at least a couple of weeks, and as Susan said, I think we're getting better at it. The principals report, as I think I said last week, principals report the kids who are in front of us do better when they're in front of us. When the hybrid kids are home, they're not quite as productive as they are when they're in school, and some of the full remote kids. But we do have a good team. I know Steve, I see Steve Wheeler sitting here, and Jamie. People are making home visits. We're actually going out and trying to figure out why a child would not be engaged. And you know, I think that comes with some pretty good results. Steve's told me a couple of times where I think the parents been a little bit surprised that the principal showed up at his or her door, and I think Jamie's had that experience. And in some cases, frankly, to put it mildly, we're not welcome. The family perhaps is in crisis, and so we do what we do. I think this hybrid is I've always felt is giving us a chance. It's harder, or as Beth says, it's high flex. It's harder to do high flex than it is for a teacher to do remote. But for sure, we're getting better results, I believe, with the children in front of us. And the news from Pfizer today is, well, I think you saw it. Rita, I see your smile.
Yeah.
I think you saw the effect on the stock market. The stock market certainly thinks that was good news. So, we may be on our way to a very effective 90% effective vaccine. So, maybe we could limp our way through and do what needs to be done. But when we have 8, 9, 10 teachers, other staff members affected by this, we just can't run the school. It's
Right.
not even so much about the spreading of the, like we're afraid everyone's going to catch the virus. We actually just can't operate the school. You can imagine an elementary school. Well, Steve can imagine it quite easily because he's living it. If you have 8, 9 staff members around, you can't run your school. So I think in the big picture, as I said last week, we're doing better at the elementary school. Perhaps because it's real cohorts and it's a little more controllable, and we're doing less well at the secondary schools. It's a bigger deal. A lot more teachers are involved. Teachers have in a child's life, and a teacher has anywhere from 100 to 120, 130 students. So that's pretty difficult to keep up with. But I think we're on the 9th. Beth and I had a little bet, and neither one of us thought we were going to get to the 9th still being hybrid. So I think we're doing okay. But we'd be happy to answer if you have any questions.
I'm going to go to Liz.
Yeah, I'm like, limping along is a good way of putting it. I'll be honest with you, I'm very concerned. I have had, I got an email this week from a parent that said, is this really a wash this year? And I had to say, no, it's not a wash. We're not, and because their child's in high school and trying to defend and to support what's happening. Yeah. But I'm going to be honest with you, Mike, I personally, and I think you know this, and I need to say it again. I think it's time we need to give parents a 2-week notice, and the week of Thanksgiving, maybe just a suggestion is maybe at the Monday of Thanksgiving, we go all remote until after Christmas, and come back in January. Give everybody a breather from being with each other, get some of the germs out, and then reevaluate. I just, we have a little girl down the street who's Jane's granddaughter, who's 5 years old and has COVID.
So
what I mean?
I think we have to be careful that as a board, we are for the hiring and firing of the superintendent and policy. I think we have to be careful about, because once again, it's ultimately Dr. Grenier's decision.
But I hear you. I hear your advice.
Okay, Mike, I just wanted you,
Right.
Thank you, Mike. I'm not being critical. I just want
to. I understand.
Liz, I don't think you're being critical. I think we just need to be careful about the fact that this is that we're policy, and that really it's Dr. Grenier's. I think he's done a really nice job at making sure that we're as informed as possible, but that there's no roadmap for this, which is what's unfortunate. Rita,
I agree.
Do you have a?
I just had a question. I know some of the AFT and the CEA had gone to the state and asked that the first 2 weeks in January, after the children are due back, that there will be just remote learning. And I was wondering, has the governor made a decision about that?
Not yet. I've been in really regular contact with Ledge like Steve Mansfield, and I think our first, I would not be surprised, along the lines of what Liz said, that we're obviously, we're monitoring it every day. We just had a case I announced at the middle school today. An individual tested positive. So we're monitoring it, and you know, if we're going into Thanksgiving with a fair amount of spread of the virus, then I think it makes good sense, and I'm going to talk to Steve Mansfield about that.
But,
Even after
but
Thanksgiving,
the
never mind
governor
Christmas.
still,
Not the governor, not yet. Correct.
no.
Well, we've actually talked about it, you know, those couple weeks, both after Thanksgiving and Christmas seem to be real
Yes.
critical times when families have been together. And so that might really make sense. And Liz, to your point, one of the things we do know from the data is the children in front of us are making better progress and are doing more work and are more engaged than the ones remote. Even the kids who are hybrid and on the remote end, you know, in that other cohort when they're home, aren't doing, you know, not all of them. Some are doing fabulous and some are really struggling and some are somewhere in between. So we're, you know, we do have concerns about that.
So can we circle back to what the action plans are then?
Sure.
So
Can I ask a question before you do that, Kim?
Yes.
I wanted to know if how the conferences went that were with parents, and also, did the schools have open houses
Yeah.
remotely? They had them remotely. I would have loved to have, I didn't know about that, and I would have loved to have just sort of been able to join in a little bit to hear what the plans were for each of the schools. But they did have conferences.
Yes.
some of our
Actually,
principals actually tape recorded it too, tape recorded their message. So there might be a way
Really?
for board members to see, you know, some of those introductions.
Right.
And they, of course, did, you know, both live and kind of virtual
Right.
sessions with families.
And did they have a chat room at all for parents to be able to talk to each other and get to know other parents in that class, so that if they needed to contact them or
I don't think so.
weren't? No, huh?
What I will say,
Okay.
this is really, really interesting. There's a computer program that I know, at least at Mary Morrison, Kathy Miner was telling me about, where you go in and you have, say, 2 or 3 kids, and you say, I want an appointment with Mr. Smith, Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. McCarthy. And,
Uh-huh.
and the computer goes, and it puts them all 3 in a row.
Oh,
Wow, that's
Yeah, so
wonderful.
it was pretty great to do that.
Yeah.
So I think the conferences
that
went quite well.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So what's the action plan?
So we're actually working that out right now. So all the data has been disaggregated. It's been sent to the schools, to the principals. They're working with their staff, and they're coming up with those successes and challenges, the trends that they're seeing, and what are those next steps? What are those action steps? So we'll be bringing that back to the board, and they'll be sharing that with their school community.
So actually, this is probably a little bit like maybe next week you will have more information about terms of what the schools are
We'll
doing.
put that on the COW. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else before we move on to the next? All right, we've been all asking about what's happening with the state assessment, so we thought we would kind of throw that on. I'm also believing, Susan, that this is your agenda item.
It is. How would you know that?
I don't know.
Assessment. You know, assessment is actually part of curriculum and instruction. It's all woven together, because whether it's a formal assessment or whether it's an informal assessment, it helps the teacher know better how those students are doing, if they're making progress. So I would have to tell you that the state, while they didn't do a summative SBAC or a summative NGSS, they've been a wonderful resource with other assessments that we're using. And we're actually field testing what they call the IABs, which are the interim assessment blocks. They have them in ELA, math, and science. They have them from grades 3, I think, through the high school to 11, that they can be used. And we're actually field testing them in 7th grade math. And they've now got a secure browser so that kids at home can take the test remotely and kids can take them at school. So we're kind of doing it in both ways, especially for our fully remote students. We think it's really important that we see how they're doing. Those IABs have been used in the past. We've always had some kind of a map and a pacing guide for them. Teachers have used them and decided to use them at every grade level in every discipline in an organized, structured way, either as an instructional tool where they can actually put the questions on the board, have kids try them out on their computer. It gets them ready for the assessment itself, but it also helps teachers know how they're thinking about that. So a lot of conversation around their thinking goes on. And then they also do some pre and post test work with these. So prior to doing the instruction and after the instruction to see the growth. So we are going to be mapping that out. I'm actually scheduling meetings with each of the levels, the principals, assistant principals, the coordinators and specialists at each of our levels to figure out what the roadmap will look like. And we've already started with the field testing so we can give information to everyone and support them in doing this, because they will need support in being able to roll this out, because it's just very extraordinary to be able to do it in a remote way. So I'm really looking forward to that. We will have an SBAC assessment and an NGS assessment in the spring. That's what the state is telling us. The performance office is saying we will go forward with that, but we won't be able to compare it to last year. So that growth model, which we so appreciate, will not be able to, compare to last year. However, we'll have a benchmark, so next year we'll be able to compare. And we do have the data from the year before, and we can really look at kids over time. Other assessments, though, that we're using to date, we finished our first round of Fontes and Pinnell reading assessments for our elementary school. We've just purchased Alexia Rapid Assessment, which will give us Lexile scores on every middle school and high school student 3 times a year. This is something we've really been looking for. And it ties in with our intervention program and our core program, Core 5 at the elementary, but it also with the Power Up, which we use for intervention at the middle school and high school. So those 2 assessments are really important, and the interesting information, and we can get this data for you, but principals are saying that while we usually see a summer slide from the last date that they took the assessment prior to COVID to this, they haven't seen a significant dip, but they haven't seen much growth either. I mean, student to student, maybe you've seen some growth, and student to student, you might have some concerns about dips, but overall, they feel like it's just kind of a continuum. So now we're really looking to see what needs to happen to accelerate that growth. So that's what we have on the assessments.
Susan, excuse me. What's NGSS again, please?
Next Generation Science Standards. Thank you for asking this. And SBAC is our state assessment for ELA and math. And I didn't mention SATs. SATs will also be given and have been given to students who weren't able to take them in the spring. We also roll out PSATs in 9th grade, and we do in the fall and in the spring. So we continue to monitor that progress as well. I see Rita.
Kim?
Rita?
Yes. Are you doing map testing with the younger children?
No, we have not used map testing for years. It actually was a recommendation from the state of Connecticut that it wasn't necessary. Map test does give Lexiles, and that part we did miss. That's why we're excited about the rapid test. But as far as we've really stuck to the state assessments, and they've really prepared kids better for the SBAC and for understanding the Common Core and giving us information about that, which is directly connected to our curriculum.
But kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, they're not part of it, are they?
They're not part of SBAC. And map testing was really questionable for the early grades. We didn't find it really very developmentally appropriate, but certainly using the F&Ps. Now we have a phonics program too that we're using. And so we're collecting and we're using all kinds of other data for progress monitoring based
for
on
a younger grade, for the younger grades.
For the little ones. you know, our kindergarten team did an amazing job the past several years as we got ready for TK, really making sure that our screener was comprehensive. I know Beth is in the crowd, so a big shout out for them. And so they really district-wide have a plan, and they continuously monitor our kindergarten children throughout the year.
That's great. Thank you.
Will we, along with that, Susan, about the assessments and stuff, I know, is the transitional kindergarten, are we getting any assessments about what's happening with them? Or once again, is this going to be kind of like the blip year?
No, I don't think it's blip at all. They're marching along with our kindergarten. You know, they really use the kindergarten standards and they use some of the preschool standards. We are rolling out the handwriting without tears in pre-K, kindergarten and first grade, which also helps assist with print. We've noticed that children's letter formation and some word work and even early spelling, you know, encoding and decoding have struggled. So that's really tied in with the Teachers College Phonics program. So we're really excited about that as an additional piece. Plus it comes with a workbook. So we've got a few different workbooks that we can send home. So
Really?
kids are on the screen all the time. So, you know, between the toolkits that we have out in the homes and in the school and the workbooks that we have and some of this additional instruction that I think is critical, I'm really excited about, and the teachers are excited about it.
Any other questions about this?
One quick one.
Absolutely.
Susan, you mentioned SATs. Did they happen on November 7th?
There have been several
That was the
administrations
weekend.
of the SAT. I know they were not obviously at the high school because the high school was closed. And I
Okay.
know we canceled hours and the students had to go to other testing sites.
Okay.
That's been
I
happening
wasn't-
all over.
I wasn't sure if that was if that was going to be a service that was going to be offered, through the high school or,
No, we're still giving it. It's just throughout the southeastern Connecticut, kids are going to different schools, whoever is open.
okay.
Dean,
Yeah, just FYI, my senior took the SATs sometime in October. I can't remember when. It seemed like a while ago now, but it was in October. So
At Fitch?
I don't think he went to Fitch. I mean, he drove himself, I think. I don't know that it was at the building itself, but it was nearby.
There's been nearly weekly administration of the SAT. It's all over the state.
It was his one and only. He was very nervous.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Really? Well,
He
he
couldn't
can
take
retake, he could take it in December again.
I don't think he wants to. He did well enough the first time that he's
Oh,
going to
good.
pat. Yeah.
anything else? We're going to move on. Update on the attendance procedures.
So I'd like to start with enrollment because enrollment does impact attendance. And so, as you know, we have a registrar's office and we have an online system for parents to go on and start the enrollment process. But many things have to be delivered right to the central office for privacy concerns. They can't be emailed. I think there is a fax number so they can be securely faxed. So over the summer, I really would say due to COVID, our own registrar's office really was impacted with much less activity with the enrollment process. So there was a lot of reaching out and trying to get the information that we needed. Other districts reported this too. I think also based on COVID, the transient movement, we saw shift a little bit, and military, the orders and moves were either slowed down, and we've been told that we possibly will see more of that happening once we get through this time period. So we could have, a whole transience thing happen once, we get through this. So preschool and pre-K across the state and kindergarten has declined immensely. We had parents tell us that, you know, with COVID, they were either going to homeschool or just keep them home and put them in kindergarten next year or put them in preschool next year. So we do have some real concerns. Homeschooling, we have about 100 students currently who are homeschooled. This year alone, 64 students were, you know, signed up the paperwork so that they could homeschool children. So we have seen a lot of impacts in enrollment. I actually have a chart though to show you our decline as a district is 4.8%, but it goes along with other districts. So let me share so you can see this. We always want to know, how are we compared to other alliance districts? How are we compared to our neighbors? So can you see this pretty well?
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the total enrollment by the alliance districts compared from last year to this year. And while we do have our October 1 numbers, which are official, they go through a process of being verified and kind of, you know, really to make sure that they're accurate. And we're still in the middle of that process. So this is based on what we have to date. Not that we expect many changes, but from Ansonia to Windsor Locks and in between, and I can roll this down so you can see some of the winners here that really suffered, including East Haven, which had a decline of 9.2%. But we're really kind of in the middle. If you're talking about the range, if you're talking about the median score or even the average score, we're really kind of in the middle of the whole thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then if we look at our neighbors, the same thing, as low as 2.9% in East Line to 10.3% in Old Saybrook. Stonington isn't far from us, 4.8. Montville and Groton are exactly alike, and 4.9 in New London. So, you know, you can see that we've all struggled, and we do know that COVID has had an impact on enrollment. So I'm going to close this out.
Susan, can I just ask, I just want to make sure, there are reasons why I'm a social worker and not a mathematician. So when I look at this graph, when it says negative, that means that we are 4.8 off of our normal enrollment average.
We have declined enrollment. That's why it's all below sea level. There have been no increases, if you notice, whether it's our neighbors or our alliance districts. But all of these numbers are negative numbers, which mean comparing to 2019-20 to 2021, we've seen a decline in enrollment. And the state did a wonderful job with the report. I read through it carefully, and a lot of the reasons the state reports it are very similar to Groton's. There were some, there were enrollment issues just getting the enrollment done. There were preschool and kindergarten declines, major declines, like 19%. And we may see the impact of that next year when they start bringing them back to preschool and kindergarten, and they haven't had a year of kindergarten. So if you see those numbers, and then, whoops, you see the alliance districts, which we always compare ourselves to the alliance districts as well.
And there was no growth.
Not that I see.
No growth in enrollment.
Right. I meant.
Not when we're comparing ourselves to alliance districts, and there may be a few districts throughout the state that did see some increase, but when you compare us to our neighbors and alliance districts, none of us saw that. We all saw the decline, and the state really recognized that mostly we saw decline.
I think two things are happening. More homeschool kids, so they're disenrolled, and way more, like 5 times more homeschool kids, and the youngest of the children, the preschool children, even some of the kindergarten kids, were just not. Parents are holding them back because they're concerned.
Okay. Did anybody else have questions about the graphs or the numbers so I can cancel out of this and see your faces?
Susan, will this have any impact for us financially or from the state or aren't we sure of that yet?
Well, we always use our October numbers for many things. So,
Right.
whether we're using them for impact aid and, that's a whole nother story, or whatever we're using them for, it does impact. But, it's kind of a sign of the times, I would say.
Okay.
It's one of those things. I mean, certainly, while some people may think, well, there's less students, so less per pupil spending, but that's actually contrary to the fact that we are spending more money on other things during COVID, PPE and instructional things. And fortunately, we have both a CARES Act and a COVID relief fund that are helping to support that.
Thank you.
And
Susan?
because we're an alliance district, the ECS, the $25 million grant, will remain stable.
Susan, I was just curious how our military students percentage is it up or down or in between?
So Rosemary, that's an excellent question. So beyond this, we do disaggregate the data to look carefully at subgroups, and we haven't done that work yet, but we will do that work, and I'll make sure I share it back with you.
I guess I'm really thankful that a couple years ago, you and Beth and the kindergarten staff really thought about this transitional kindergarten, because it looks like we're going to have to start implementing that model next year, or at least infusing our kindergartens with that model to, if that is, if once you collate out where the decrease in enrollment is, if it is the preschool kindergartners, we're going to have a lot of kids that had the potential of being far behind.
Right, exactly. So,
But at least that is not one wheel that you're going to have to develop, right? Like, at least we have a wheel.
yeah, we
Yeah,
have
we
structures in place, that
There's
really.
a wheel on that bus. We have
Yeah.
one wheel on the bus.
So just wanted you to know about the enrollment, because it does affect attendance. For instance, those first couple weeks of September, we're trying to figure out who is sitting in front of us, or who is now remotely in front of us, compared to what Power School is saying who is enrolled. A lot of kids move over the summer and don't let us know that they've moved. So you're always trying to verify the data that's in Power School. So that does take time. And throughout the state, attendance was kind of up and down in September. It was really difficult to get a handle on. There were several factors for that. There's a new way of taking attendance, which I'll show you another chart in a minute that I've probably shown you before. And, we wanted to know who's actually attending, based on enrollment. And how do we even take attendance now? You've got present, you've got present remote, you've got unverified in person and unverified out there remotely. You have tardy here and tardy there. I feel like Dr. Seuss, and tardy everywhere. And then you have, absent in person versus absent remote, or disconnected, disengaged. So there are multiple codes. And so we knew early on from our teachers that this was really tough. This was one of their heaviest lists. It comes out whenever Mike and I speak with them. It comes out to Beth and Doug all the time, and to our principals. And we're really trying to ease the codes and ease that. But I want to show you what the state has told us in our marching orders for calculating attendance for remote learners. And remember, while we have a hybrid model for about 2/3 of the kids, there's only 1/3 of it at a time in front of us. So that means at any given time, 2/3 are actually remote. So let me share my screen. So now attendance is not only based on if you're with us or not with us, in both a personal, in-person or remote way, but we also want to make sure if remote learners are considered in attendance any particular day, if their total time adds up to at least a half day's worth of work and attending. So between the synchronized, which is, you know, the on, you know, the using the remote virtual lessons so that kids are on Zoom or they're in a classroom or even in a small group, that kids are attending there. You know, if they're coming to meetings or even office meetings, if they have logged into the LMS system, and if they've completed assignments and submitted them. And so attendance just doesn't happen in a day. We give them a 3-day window, because on Fridays, you know, you've got the weekend, and you may discover that parents have caught up and kids have caught up over the weekend. So you need to verify their attendance from Friday on a Monday sometimes. So this is really tricky. This is like we've never done before, like, you know, like everything with this pandemic. So it's really a difficult thing. Before, when children were present, they were either there or not. We weren't looking at the work completion. That kind of went into the grades category, or, you know, the reminder category when they're with you. And we still are reminding them, but we actually have an app called Remind that we use to communicate with parents and students. So that kind of puts a little bit of understanding around this. Did anybody have a question before I take it down? Because I do have some data to tell you about comparing last year's attendance to this year's attendance so far.
I don't think you have to leave it up, but like, you've just confused me.
Well,
Me too.
it's very confusing, Kim. It is, I don't know how teachers really keep track of it all. We did write our own plan. So the fortunate thing is we kind of put it into at each level what that looks like. So we do have a plan that's up on our website, and we've kind of made it a little simpler to understand. What does it look like in elementary? What does this look like in secondary, middle school, and high school? So
Well, we're all getting a lesson on existentialism as we do attendance.
So
Sorry, I had to say it.
that's fine. So how long is,
how long does it take?
no, I guess, so
10 minutes or more per kid.
I'm Susan, I don't mean to be deaf, and I am really, but like, that doesn't make sense to me. So you can show me the chart, but I've actually minimized this chart. It's not even on my screen anymore. But if other people need to look at it, please keep it up. But
Well,
so
I think what it's telling you though is that every day a child is remote, they need a half day's worth of work. And what that work looks like is it's going to be some independent work. It's going to be some in-person virtual work where they're working with their teacher, with the class. They're working in small groups or individually in a synchronized way, but there's also asynchronous learning that's happening with different assignments and completing the assignments. And there's also logging into their school, their Google Classroom or their Schoology or their Seesaw. And we have families that quite honestly aren't able to keep those schedules because of daycare reasons and all kind of reasons. So we also need to be flexible and give them additional time to do some of that completion. And our teachers, while they might be doing a virtual meeting or lesson, they oftentimes will either pre-record or record at that time so that they can put it up for instructional reasons for families who have not been able to attend. But we really encourage them to attend because that's part of attendance.
Susan, what about the families that are, totally remote?
Well, this is for those families as well. So this is for remote learners. So whether you're in hybrid and you're not attending on those days and you're remote learning on those days, or whether you're fully remote.
That's very confusing. Jay?
I don't hear Jay.
Maybe we should stop sharing so we could see.
Jay, when you try to talk, can you do that for a second? Yeah, you know what, Jay? Sometimes things go wrong like this. Get off and come back in. Yeah, so can you hear me? So just log out and then log back in. Sometimes it works out pretty well.
It says Jay is not muted.
We don't hear him.
Well,
But
he's-
Mark can see that he's not muted, so something
Right.
must be wrong. You can also put things in the chat box too, if he wanted to have something answered.
Right. Yeah, I just 2 seconds ago, I all of a sudden my system went to my earbuds that were put away and not on me, and so I have no idea.
This is
Kim,
I get it.
this is Beth. I can explain how I take attendance as a teacher. if
Oh,
you
good.
think that might help.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes, I would like to cede my time to Beth, please.
Okay, so what I do is we have our daily morning meeting, and if I'm in school, the kids that are fully distanced, they go off. That's my cohort that's not in session, and my fully distanced kids, they have what I call their learning path of the day. And then I continue with the kids in my room. And then I check before I leave to see who has started their work, but then I have to check again at some point in the morning, the next morning, which is usually around 10 o'clock because that's when my kids have special. And that's when I mark I have to go through each activity to see if they've completed it, if they've handed in their work, or if there's a note from a parent that something went wrong. I have to also check my email to see if there's technology issues, or if a parent has physically taken pictures of the work that way and submitted it. I ended up keeping a clipboard to keep track of what they've got done. And then at some point during that 10 o'clock time, or usually it's during my lunchtime, I end up going back into Power School to mark the previous day's attendance for all the kids that are distance. So I mark my in-person kids that are in front of me that day. I mark all of my distance kids the next day. And if it's a Friday, I have to do that on Monday before a certain point in time. So I don't have to keep emailing the secretary going, can you change this person? Can you change this person? So I've communicated to my parents that they need to make sure they get the work in some point that evening before 9 o'clock the next morning, so I can start going through it and looking to see what their participation level is, so I can mark if they have attended for the day.
And in elementary, we do that actually in the morning and the afternoon. We take attendance twice. But in the middle school and high school, we take attendance for every class period.
Yeah, and that's what we're hearing from, and then the middle school and the high school teachers, they're having to do that for every class. And then they're also marking if they're 15 minutes late, they're tardy. If they haven't done their check-in question within the first 15 minutes of the class period time, they're tardy. So there's a lot of layers to trying to take attendance now. Attendance can take an hour or more to complete.
In elementary, we're really not marking tardy remotely. Because we feel they need that flexibility. But we are marking if they come to school late and they're in person, then the secretary is able to mark that. I know.
Beth, yeah, Beth, did you say
Wait.
that?
Rita?
Oh.
Can I just want to make sure that, because Jay is finally back.
Oh, sure.
shoot. It's not working. Your microphone is not picking up, Jay.
This happened to a student and their microphone was actually turned off on their actual computer, not just Zoom. So you might want to check that too, Jay.
Because we now are all tech savvy because we've had to resolve all of our kids' issues.
You might even want to put your question in the chat box, Jay, if you can hear us.
So Rita,
Yeah, I had a question for Beth. Did you say that the students that are in front of you, you are working with them, and then did you say you have a coworker that's working with the distance children?
No,
You
No.
didn't say that.
no, I did not. No,
Okay.
I make, my teaching partner and I have created what we call daily decks. And we
Okay.
split the work, we pre-record lessons, and we put them all together so they can, it's laid out a little bit better for our parents. This is what we chose to do. Just drop my rosemary.
Okay.
And, but no, I don't have somebody else watch. I have to do my in-person and my distance kids. There's
The same time. And your coworker is another kindergarten teacher.
yes, my teaching partner is, she's across the hall doing the same thing with her kids.
Okay, thank you.
Susan.
So are you ready for me to move on to talk about last year versus this year with the
Well,
10?
did Jay do a question? Oh, no.
Beth has given him some advice on the chat deck. Using the arrow up besides the mute button to see if that helps.
All right. Is there, before we move on, is Liz, Dean, Andrea, Rosemary, Lee, do you have any, or Jane, do you have any questions?
This is so helpful. It's far more demanding than I had imagined.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
We have, like many around the state, we have seen a decline of attendance from last year to this year. I looked at the range because we keep track of attendance each month. Erica does a great job in charting that for our Alliance grant. And last year I looked and the range was as low as 92% attendance, averaged over the month in February to September, October at 96%. So imagine that, we have, almost all of our kids in the 90% plus range. This year for September, October, and remember I told you there's some question about accuracy of the data. So I've got the Power School folks and everybody looking at it, cross-referencing it with what the schools have and what Erica has. And it so far looks like it's been between 83 and 85% attending. So we did take, a significant decline in the attendance. And we certainly see that those disconnected kids fluctuate as the buildings close. We tend to see more disconnectivity when a school goes fully remote. But we do have these attendance crisis teams that are working hard. We're going to actually talk to the principals about it tomorrow to see how those are going. But at every building, between a school psychologist or a social worker, the admin team, teachers really are the ones who might recognize it first. And then there's a process to send it to this attendance crisis team. And we use DCF as a partner. DCF is really on top of this in this day and age and has been very supportive. Our community policing has been very supportive, especially our SROs. On Wednesdays, I think both Adam and Scott go out to homes and knock on doors, and we try to identify what is the problem. We're really there to support families. Like, is it a technology issue? Is there an illness issue? Is it, what is the problem and how can we help you? So I want the community, anybody who's listening, to know that we really care about our students and we want them to be able to engage and be connected. It's so important, not only for their academics, but for their social emotional well-being too. So looking at the whole child, it's not like what it used to be. School is not exactly, but there are some real silver linings. And I've seen and been in remote classrooms and in breakout groups where kids are discussing and, talking to one another and having some wonderful engagement. So, and I've seen some of the lessons that even some of our primary teachers and elementary and middle school teachers have done, really trying to engage kids. So I just wanted to put that word out. We'll be monitoring this every month so I can come back to the board and share with you how things are going. And if we're finding specific trends of why this is happening.
Liz?
Susan, has the state come out with any guidelines for end of the year promotion or advancement to other grades based on attendance? I know that they had at one point said it was like 30, if you missed more than 31 days of school, or less than that, I think it was 30, something like that, that you could not advance. Have they come out with anything of that nature at this point?
I have not seen that, and I do stay very connected to the performance office and go attend all the performance matters. So I will keep my eye open, and I can even reach out to Ajit to get any information that might be coming out on that.
Do you think that they're going to maintain? I mean, so the state had come out with a couple of years ago, and I don't know if this was still maintained, but it was like 30 days. If there's nothing that's stated due to COVID, this change, would we be grandfathered in to have to keep that 30 days? And that would be the break off point, or the 31 on the 31st day you cannot advance. Is that?
I don't even think I've seen that in our policy.
I think,
Okay,
I think there'd be a lot of flexibility this year. I would not
Okay.
anticipate that.
I just, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions? I think I've kind of come to the finish line with those few topics.
Is
For now. We'll
Is-
still,
is there a way to make this simpler?
no, as a matter of fact, Kim, if anything, it's going to be more complicated because we're going to be disaggregating the data even further. At our subgroups, looking at our high needs versus non-high needs, there's definitely a discrepancy noted in the state, and we're noticing. So we've got to look at this more carefully. It has to be scrutinized more than it's been so far, and we have to continue doing it. But it's not a simple problem, and I don't know that there's a simple solution, but we have to identify what the problems are before we can solve them, like I always say. So.
Is there any other questions from board members? All right, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
So Dr. Grenier, elementary school staff reassignment process.
Well, we launched the process. Thanks to some good conversations, Susan and Beth and Doug Manford and Lori Lapine and I had. So we basically put out an agreement that Beth and I signed that we would encourage people to tell us if they're going to retire. I think the date was please tell us by December 15th, if I'm not mistaken, so that we could then figure out what the openings are, then go about the process of hypothetically filling those vacancies, and then saying to the teachers, what is your preference? That we've got Thames River and we've got Mystic River, and now that we know what the themes are, I indicated that Thames River would be the environmental marine life science. Mystic River would be the, I forget what the word is.
Active exploration, play and ingenuity.
Play and ingenuity, and then the last one, Charles Barnum, would be the creativity and nurturing whatever. Creativity and something else. Curiosity. Sorry.
Discovery Academy.
So I've actually spoken. I think each of the faculties, the talk that I had with Seth Danner, the faculty of Charles Barnes has, believe it or not, has already started to pursue this, and I suspect once we get, now of course that school is unique because we know what the faculty is. The other two schools do not yet have a faculty, but we're hoping by advancing this retirement date and then getting people's preferences, we're going to be able to settle in fairly early, certainly right after in January sometime, I believe.
And Mike, can I just add that the survey that's going out was really well done. Lori really tackled that job, and she shared it with Beth and I, and we both really liked it. It not only asked for the preferences in the 2 new schools with the theme, and the grade levels that they preferred, but it also said if there were an opportunity due to retirement to go to one of the other magnet schools, which, will have 5 magnet schools, would that be a preference? So we're going to be collecting all this data kind of at the same time, along with the retirement. So our goal is really before the holidays, we'll know where people really want to go. So I think that will be a huge lift, so that in January, we can start bringing our faculties together and kind of getting ready for transition and moving and all that stuff that we did with the Groton Middle School. So there's a lot of still heavy lifting to do with, moving 3 schools into 2 and faculties and stuff.
We work
No
with
pandemic is going to stop us.
No way.
at the middle school, we work with this really terrific guy named Tom Beebe, who really organized with unbelievable detail the move from the 2 buildings to bring it to all the supplies and equipment and furniture to the middle school. And I was saying goodbye to him, and he said, "Well, actually, next week I'm starting the process of helping the 3 schools consolidate all their stuff and put it into the 2 new schools." So we are off and running. And then, as I said the other night, in my board notes, and I really hope some board members can come, by the way. Nobody was able to make it to the topping off ceremony. There's going to be a topping off ceremony at 2 p.m. on Monday, the 16th of November at Thames River Magnet School. And I was at Mystic River Magnet School yesterday, and they are putting the walls in.
Wow.
Believe it or not. So the Thames River School, like we always call the schools by initials. So TR is,
Yes.
is coming along, and we're going to put that final beam in. So if you can make it, it would be, I'd really appreciate it. It's really a nice way to get together to celebrate a true milestone, and then to thank everybody for. So it'd be great if we, and there's enough room. We could, if you're available, we could go to the school, and then we could walk over and say a few prayers at Pfizer, and we'll be all set.
Mike, do you want us to let you know if we can go?
Yeah, if you could, shoot me a note. That'd be great. Monday, November 16th, 2 p.m.
You might also want to reach out to some community members and representatives too, in case they want to go.
Well, they had that, like, they always threaten me. We can only have a few people. I just want to make sure the board can come. If the board can come, that would be like super terrific.
Okay.
And actually, Mr. Antipas was Councilor Antipas in those days, and he helped get this referendum through.
Yeah, we hope. Kim, I have a question. It's for either Mike or Susan. With the Catherine Konaski Magnet STEAM School and Northeast Academy, we have like an extra period of technology or STEM. What is it going to be at these? Will we have to hire additional staff? And how does this fit in with the discovery, the marine science, and then the one at the active exploration? I don't quite understand the themes.
We just started the budget for those schools today. I can say a little bit more in the next week or so. Jay, I see that you're back. The facilities finance committee is really going to take this on. Can you talk, Jay? Did we fix this problem? No. Okay. Anyway, the answer to your question is, when I spoke to the one school whose faculty is still intact, Seth Danner was explaining to me what they're thinking about is a what they're going to call a discovery period, an hour on Tuesdays and an hour on Thursdays every week, and the kids are going to do some discovery activity. Now, if we had as you know, at CK, we have Ben Moon, who's
Yes.
that STEM teacher. So if we could get some sort of a discovery type person, that would be great. And I think we're gonna, given the nature of the budget, we're gonna have to be creative. I don't think it's necessarily mandatory to do that. I think we're gonna be able to present a theme, but yeah, I think the environmental marine life science, there will probably be an elementary Project O component. There might be a NEST, New England Sailing and Science, with the Mystic. It's hard for me to say these names. I got to get them well off my tongue. Mystic River Magnet School. I have a sense that there probably will be an art connection, like perhaps to the seaport and perhaps to the Mystic
Aquarium?
Art. Yeah.
Oh, the Museum of Art.
Yeah.
Can I just say that's why this is so important that we figure out our staff, because really one of the things I had talked about at the last meeting is it's so essential that the staff comes together with the families or with the PTO to really create this thing so it becomes theirs. So it's going to be really important that while we can envision and we actually send out in the survey other examples, it's going to be really up to the principal, assistant principal, and their staff and parent group what this becomes. So if we can really get the some of these transitionings done before the holidays and start bringing people together and finalizing that in January, then all of this will come together, and we'll certainly share with the board, or we'll have the two principals, Jamie and Steve, with some staff come to you and let you know what it's going to look like.
Right. I think that would be extremely helpful for parents, because they'll know then where they would like to apply for the lottery, because it will be limited. CK used to have an extra art period. Do they still?
I don't know about an extra art period. I know that they do have a STEAM period, so it really is more of kind of a STEM related to the arts. So that's where Ben Moon will have classes in. He has his own lab,
Okay.
so
Yes.
that they rotate classes at every grade level through that. And I
Okay.
think there is an extra music teacher at NEA.
Yes.
There's extra
Yes.
music offerings at NEA. So that's what we try to do in supporting these magnet programs. But your suggestion about the lottery is essential, because most of the lotteries in New London and Learn happen in February. So
They
if we
do.
really want to be competitive, we've got to really get this going so that our families know what their
Yeah.
choices are.
And I really think that the MS and TRMS, I think they sound great. It's like Mystic River Magnet. I mean, you could just abbreviate them, because it is a mouthful.
It is.
It is a mouthful.
It
Right.
is.
You
Yeah,
kind of sound
TR
like
and
syndromes or diseases,
Right.
like MRSA. Sorry.
That's what I was thinking. Any other conversations about this topic? All right, we're down to our referral list. Yes, thank you for making this a shorter meeting.
Yeah.
Because in January, man, we're gonna be really busy. So
We are.
and along with that, to not only the review of the referral list, but also if people have agenda topics, I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand.
Kim,
Yes.
are you on to the tracking sheet?
Yes.
I thought we had put on there last month, to review where the state was with the mandated African American Latino American course for curriculum. Andrea, am I
Yeah.
off on that?
No, we're actually coming back because the state just passed the curriculum.
Oh, okay.
And I forwarded that to Carmita, and she's
Mhm.
gonna come and make a presentation to the curriculum committee initially, and then we'll go from there.
So that doesn't need to go on our
I don't think
action
so.
list?
No, that's coming. We're
Okay,
gonna deliver that.
Okay.
I'm
They
putting,
finally did it, huh?
I'll
Wow.
remember. So when Andrea and I are putting together the agenda,
I actually think it, yeah, I think it needs to go on the tracking list because
track of
we
it.
use so many, yeah.
I'm just amazed that they've got something together. It's been
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. It's a fully developed curriculum, so off we go.
Wow.
Rita,
What is on it says RV, discussion of STEM Masters for Diversity. I don't believe it's a master's program. I think
No,
it's
Sorry, it's the residency program.
right.
I put Lori in contact with Ryan Donlin, and
Yes,
we're going to include that in our budget.
but that's more for paraprofessionals
Yes.
as opposed to the
Well,
masters. The
No,
masters is a
you're right,
different
you're
one.
right. You're right. It's not the master's one. It's the residency program is for people. They may have a degree, they just don't have a teaching degree. It
Right.
could be a para too. You're right.
Yes.
but do we
Yes,
want,
that-
do we want to add that one? Rita, is that what I hear you saying?
Yes. I mean, they're two separate things.
Yeah, I think so.
And Dr.
Liz?
Grenier, you have a program that I don't think everybody in the board is familiar with. Like we have a program in Groton,
That's right.
so maybe you could explain that.
Sure.
I didn't
Sure,
know
we-
that.
Well, no.
Yeah.
It's not, in the-
No?
we have to
Well,
do an
then
agenda
at the
topics.
next COW.
We'll do it.
At
All
the
right?
next COW. We just
Okay,
can't do
the
that because
agenda
it's not an
right here.
agenda topic.
Right.
Da-da-da.
So are we putting more than words down?
No. She's
Oh.
referring to the grow your own para, get them to be
Oh.
teachers. Yeah.
Liz, I got you.
Okay, I just was looking down on the COW. It says review of additional elementary neighborhood plans. Haven't we completed that?
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. Yes.
So that
we
can
have.
go off.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm so happy when things get off. I feel embarrassed that they're on there, like for 20 years.
This is much better than what it used to look like, man. We used to have 2 pages.
Oh, geez.
Can we have the R 2020-23 underneath the committee of the whole, the discussion and review of the work of the DEI committee? I sort of feel like that just is ongoing. Can't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
Next week is our first book discussion. Yeah, we could make a nice presentation on Monday, actually. 'Cause we're
what's
having
the
a very-
book?
So you want to talk about race?
I think we have enough copies if board members would like it too, because I think that would be really a good thing to have for us.
Mhm.
Can it be sent to us or do you want us to come pick it up?
Erica can send it. Just send me a note that you're interested in CC Erica.
Okay.
We'll get you a book.
Okay. Well, the first, it's due on Tuesday, so
Ah,
you got to
I'll
read.
skim it.
Yeah, right.
I'm a quick read, Mike. Come on.
Good.
Tomorrow.
I have it, and I've been sitting on it and trying to get through some information by osmosis, and it's not working.
Okay. I won't lay on my head on top of it and go to sleep
Yeah,
then.
there you
Okay.
go.
Anything else or for agenda topics?
Can you explain that under policy, the 2 different policies about sexual harassment and exploitation of sexual harassment?
So those actually go together. One is for students who need to file sexual harassment forms.
Okay.
One is for adults in the adult world. So we have it under the 5,000s for the students, and we have it under the 4,000s for the adults. And actually Denise is going to join us when we have our first meeting. We've gone through it in policy. We made some corrections, and it's going to be sent back out to all of the policy members to review one more time. And then we're going to be discussing it during the board meeting. And she's going to share with you, we actually created this sexual harassment back in 2016. And because the law changed, we had to go back and make some changes based on the law. So she's just going to review those changes that needed to happen. So
Can you also, the wording for R 2019-16, determine where the limits are for having advertising done? Could that be reworded to be a little
And
more
haven't we done that one?
concise?
We have done that one, yeah, because
We totally
the
finished it.
size of the sign and how long
Yeah.
it's
Right,
up and all that
right,
stuff.
right.
Yeah, we've done it as part of the advertising policy.
So then we don't need to have that there
We don't.
anymore.
I think we could remove that.
Another one down.
And did Jay make a referral about people that reside in this community going to our schools, and how were we going to track that? Didn't he make a referral
did.
about that?
He did.
And then never made it on the referral tracking.
well, the reason is that we actually have admission requirements for resident students. So we're going to
Right.
be looking at our registrar information and enrollment.
Okay,
And
well, that needs to, but that you're discussing an agenda topic. So let's get it on our tracking sheet so that we can have that discussion.
Well,
And so
it
maybe-
is.
It is
Is it?
there.
She's
is-
saying that R 2020-24, no, 22
Mhm,
would cover that.
right.
Oh, got it.
And yeah, so we're going to be examining that soon, because we're also going to have software for online registration updates and lottery. So that's something we have to look at carefully.
But Jay, did your part also wanted to talk about the finance part of that? That once we determined if we have a number of students who are being educated who do not live in town, is that not
Yeah.
part of that as well? So
Right.
could not underneath finance, it say that once the admissions policy, I mean, do we have a policy around?
We have a process that we have. We have someone in the finance office that tracks the information of students who are outplaced to make sure that their attendance is verified. And whether they're in magnet schools or whether they are in special ed programs. So we do have a system for checking on that. And also for verifying data each year from families if they've made moves.
I think Jay was referring to in Norwich, they actually hired
They hired
a
an
person,
attendance officer. That's
an
right.
attendant officer, and I thought his was tied in with that.
Yeah, it is. I think as a first step, what we thought we would do is take a look at the policy, because we have a policy about how people
Right.
prove they are. And then, yeah, sure, we could definitely, I mean, the big thing that I think they did in Norwich was they were able to prove that some very high cost
Mhm.
special ed, and
Yes.
that's dollar for dollar.
Right.
So we're already doing that, Mike. We're already double checking all of that data, but you might want to have that at a COW for Denise to come in and talk to you about the processes that we have in place.
I think that that's what the point is. Yep. That we have it,
Yeah.
we have it in the policy, but that we also have it in the COW to talk about what is the procedure.
All right, I put that down for next.
Oh,
meeting.
and Jay just wrote something. Let's see.
Thank you, Jay.
I don't think of him as Jay, I think of him as Harpo.
Any other future agenda topics?
Lynn? Motion to adjourn.
Have a second? I have Rosemary. Any discussion?
Good meeting.
Well,
Thank you all.
I don't know what our families are going to do when they see us at
Emerge.
7:15 emerge.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Bye.
Oppose, abstain. That motion carried. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I know.
Stay
Yep.
well.